welcome. Thank you to our live studio audience. You guys are amazing. Welcome into this week's episode of the Young Dad Podcast. I'm Jay, and not with us today is co-captain Aaron. However, joining us is Erin from the Divorcee Dish. Erin, how are you today?
I'm good this morning. How are you?
I'm good. No one ever asks me how I am. I ask other people all the time, so I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I
everyone needs to be
appreciate
good
true,
or be
true,
honest.
true, true. All right, so I gave a little bit about you in our intro,
Okay.
but a little bit more about you here. You fill in the gaps. I'm gonna give my rundown of you from all my stalking of you
Okay.
prior
Great.
to everything. So,
Okay.
Erin has twin girls, Amelia and Emerson, and she
Yes.
also has Campbell,
Yep.
another child, right?
My son.
Yep, your
Yep.
son's
My son.
okay.
He's
She's
a
from Louisville, Kentucky.
yes.
Correct. Okay.
Correct.
Along with being a divorced woman, advocating, you also founded. Um, sorry, I mixed
In
up my
mode.
words here. Yes. Uh, He's also the founder of the nationally acclaimed In Mode Marketing LLC, established in 2010. She's also a charter member of the United Strategies Public Relations, an international network of public relations and marketing communications professionals for which she represents the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and is a long-term senior consultant with the Institute of Crisis Management, one of the first crisis management consulting firms in North America. Erin is also an accomplished speaker and media training professional with an impressive resume of public speaking engagements at keynote marketing related events across the nation. That's everything I was able to find about you. So, Erin, fill in all the rest of the gaps for us. Tell us about you.
Yeah. Okay. So founded in mode, 2010. So 13 years later, still working with a variety of clients and keeps me hopping. Uh, Last year, I decided that I've been divorced for almost 4 years, and I woke up one day and I said, "There's not a great resource for divorcees out there. It's all kind of stretched into so many different areas." So I woke up and I built a website and started writing. So one of the things, with the Divorcee Dish, it was just there's so many things to talk about. And then towards the end of December, somebody somebody said you should put that in paperback because people are going to want to read everything at once. So I published my first book. In the meantime, I've also been writing children's books. So I write a series called Susie and Johnny Grilled Cheese. And those are based off of adventures that I told my kids as they were growing up at bedtime. Now, I have, yeah, twin 17-year-olds who are very busy
Oh
and
my.
don't hear bedtime stories anymore. And my son, the same thing, too busy. But still, he helped me create the characters and drew them out and brought them to life. So we're going to have 12 books out there.
Wow.
And currently we're recording new content for Divorcee Dish, and it'll be an audiobook.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So how so take us through, some of the things that got you to today. You said you've been divorced for 4 years now, 5 years?
4 years. Yeah.
4 years now?
And what got me here today, let's see. So born and raised in Kentucky.
Mm.
I went to Western Kentucky. I'm a hilltopper. Highly recommend it. And I tell my girls that because they're looking at colleges. And then I just found internships. So I worked for the Kentucky Derby Festival for several years. And then I launched Whole Foods Market in the region here, which was unheard of. And I had known of it because of just I'd been to different cities and always loved it.
Mhm.
So launched Whole Foods, then got got recruited to go to a startup, and I went there. Meanwhile, all these years I've been working on and off with the X Games, traveling to different cities when it early on. Once I
Hmm.
had the twins, it was like no more. I
Yeah.
can't travel with for those long periods of time. But it's been an awesome ride experience, and I the startup was an amazing experience. And then when the startup kind of wrapped due to funding, about 5 days later, I started in mode marketing and have been growing ever since. And then I've always wanted to be an author. So I said, I'm going to do this, and I don't know how, but I'm
Yeah.
going to do this. Yeah. So found some help, some direction on how I'm supposed to, pull this all together. And being an indie author has been really interesting because, you're not picked up everywhere as easily, and
Hmm.
you get a lot of rejection.
Yes.
But the blog, between the blog and the book now, there is some pick. Yeah, the blog's been very popular, and
Hmm.
up to upwards of 40,000 people reading.
Wow.
Yeah, which yeah, so that's why I keep adding and using resources there, because people want to know stuff. They don't know what's going to happen to
Yeah.
them, or there's so many different situations, and
Hmm.
divorce and dating and everything else is so different than
Yeah.
it was. I mean, now I'm in my late 40s, and I I'm like, I don't even know what to do here anymore, but
Yeah.
I do gather good content from all the stuff that I do.
No, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, great content. Great
Yeah.
content. The dating life. Like dating today, it's so crazy. And like it's even crazier to think that what is it? One in two marriages end in divorce in the country
Yeah.
now? And
Yeah.
that's a United States problem. Pretty
Yeah.
much an isolated United States problem now where other countries in the world don't have that.
No.
They just don't. They have like a maybe like a 1 in 4, 1 in 5, one in
Right.
six, or even lower. But it's like at least a one. I want to say it's at least like a 1 in 4, 1 in 5, like minimum, like highest, and then it's
Yeah.
down from there, which
Right.
is just like crazy.
Yeah. It blows your mind, like, and I just recently wrote a blog on, is a divorce a trend? And it kind of is dependent on when you got married. Um,
Yeah.
and a lot of people focus on their careers and then settle
Mhm.
down and are having children later. And, I have a couple friends that had children in their late 40s, and, that's stressful. I mean, I couldn't imagine having my children right.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
I agree. I got asked that at the gym the other day by one of the guys at the desk. He's young. He was asking me randomly, like, "What do you think? Like, what age did you have your kids?" I'm like, "I had mine at 20." How old was I? How old am I now?
that's how I
Shoot,
am.
20, 21, 22 is when I had my first kid. So
Yeah.
like, I was super young.
Yeah.
My ex-wife was 20,
Yeah.
2 years younger than me. Like, we were really young. We were really young when we had our first kid. And same for my brother. They were also like 19, 20.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm so glad I mean now I'm almost 30 and stuff, and I'm like I'm so glad I had them younger. Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
have wanted to have them even now. I like think about it like if I get remarried or something or into a new relationship and she wants to have kids, it's like well like biologically like I'm 30, I'm almost 30. Like the
Youngin.
quality, yeah, but the quality still
Yeah.
isn't isn't there, because
Yeah.
it dips off at 30 for both men and women. Like
Yeah.
you just start adding risk upon risk, and then every year you add more risk and more risk and more risk and more risk. It's like I don't want to do that. I don't want to like stress about that kind of
No.
thing. But I can't imagine like well I can because my ex-wife's parents had kids in their late 40s. Well, he's older. He's like in his 50s, and they have two kids. They have like an 8 and a 7, or 9 and a 7.
Wow.
Um, and my oldest is 6.
Okay. Yeah.
So she has uncles that are a year and 2 years older than her.
That's crazy. Yeah,
It's wild.
it is wild. It was a funny story about my sister was just in town and she lives in Chicago and her daughter told her that she was the oldest mom in the school and she's 7. She's like, "You're old, mom." And everybody else's parents are in their 30s and she's 41. And so her daughter's calling her out. She's like, "Great, that makes me feel awesome." But at the same time, I mean, things have changed. And then you had COVID, and then now you have all these COVID babies coming out, or people got divorced because they couldn't stand their spouse anymore. Being
Yeah. That was a huge one. That was a huge one.
That was a huge one. I think if um, your relationship was on the edge and then you're locked up together for, a year or so,
Any duration of that time.
yes, those little things. And I talk about in one of the blogs, like I had a friend early on telling me, "I'm getting divorced because I don't put the toilet paper the right way." And I'm like, "The toilet paper, is that it?" And they're like,
Yeah, I'm
"It's
like
little things."
the whole thing's just bad after
Yeah.
that. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
because I mean, a lot of people were forced to really take a step back and realize, like, oh my gosh, that my partner does this and that, and I
Right.
do this and that, and I never noticed all these things before because we're always like circling around each other. We're only
Right.
spending, and like the average couple now probably spends what, maybe 4 to 6 hours together at most a
Yeah.
day.
Right.
Top. Of course, you're
Top.
not counting sleeping,
Yeah.
but like awake, like active, like maybe an hour or two in the morning, maybe a few
Right.
hours in the afternoon. Like that's
I
it.
mean, that's it, and that's probably enough for everyone. I mean,
Yeah, but
I don't know.
you only get so much interaction in that time because then you also, if you have kids, they're like that's where all your attention is. You're focused on them, and you're
Right.
cooking dinner, you're doing dishes, you're doing laundry, you're cleaning, you're taking the dog out, you're doing all these things. You're busy. Even that time you're spending together, quote unquote, you're not together.
No. I mean, and a lot of the elements I think fall into the way sports are these days too. If you do have children,
Hmm.
I mean, I used to go to practice once a week. We'd have a game on the
Oh,
weekend.
sports. Oh my gosh.
And I mean, it tears families apart because I recently had a friend ask me, and she's much younger and has much younger kids. She said, "Should I get them into, the traveling sports, whatever sport
Oh,
they
travel
want?"
sports are a scam.
No, and I just said, my girls have, and my ex husband's a soccer coach, and
Mhm.
so they have just known that, and
Yeah.
that was really hard. I mean, all
Yeah.
the all that travel and being
Mhm.
away and just being apart and,
Yeah. It's
you
hard.
know, I told her, I said, "No, just get them into recreational something so you all can still have dinner together."
Yeah,
Because
just do the local stuff. The local stuff is to a point today where it's good enough
right,
to still get that. Like if they're good enough, they're going to end up making a high school team,
right.
and if they're good enough to be on a high school team, they're going to get the exact same recognition than they are playing on those travel teams.
Yeah, it's just
So,
a lot for parents, and some parents are into it. I've just been one that I want to spend quality time with my kids,
mhm.
and if it's possible, and we're all together in one house, great, and that's sometimes that's quality time, knowing that everybody's just here and not, several other places. So
Mhm.
I just, yeah, the sports for families is hard. So when COVID happened, and then nobody's going to sports either, so there was no break,
There's none. There's nothing.
none.
There's no break from each other.
Yeah, and then you were teaching your children, which was frustrating because math. I mean, I
Yeah.
have no idea.
Mhm.
But I think all those pressures. But not only that, I mean, people again are getting married later in life. If they got married
Mhm.
earlier, more likely to divorce just because you grow into a different person throughout your 20s, I believe,
Yeah.
and into your 30s. And if,
Mhm.
it's like as much as you love people, you just sometimes it just doesn't work out. And
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah,
and people are scared, I think, and scared to go through a divorce, or what's that going to do to my children, even though the children know, that a lot of other friends and families are divorced. It's just they never thought their family would. But
yeah,
at the same time, what is better for everyone is what I always, think about that. What is
exactly.
better for everyone? Because when there's tension in the house, and, it's not that, and we didn't even really argue. We just grew apart,
Hmm.
and so that was an element that was confusing for my children, but I know it happens to a lot of families. So I'll
Hmm.
ask, what happened? We grew apart. And I'm
Yeah,
like, it happens with
yeah,
careers and everything else.
yeah, and that's just life. I mean, honestly, I always kind of knew, and this is weird. I've been having this conversation a lot lately over the last like couple weeks with a varied amount of people. Um, but I've been having the conversation where it's like I always kind of knew that the divorce was going to happen. I always kind of
Yeah.
knew. Even when we were
Yeah.
like dating and engaged and got married and stuff, early years of marriage and stuff, I always knew. I always knew. It's just a matter of time. Um, you know, a lot of it really came, 2018, 2019, we were real low and uh in our marriage, and then we got COVID happened, and then we had our second daughter in November 2020, and then pretty much 5 months later, April 2021, we were done.
Yeah.
So, we were divorced with a 3-year-old at the time and then a 5-month-old at the time.
Wow.
So,
And that's so difficult to figure out the
yeah.
schedules and everything else. I mean, even if you don't have kids and you're dating somebody with kids, that's a challenge,
Oh,
as well.
absolutely.
And, the whole dating world's changed.
Yeah.
The sites are just, I don't even know what to say about them
I don't
anymore.
even use the sites. I haven't used the site since the New Year's. That was like a New Year's resolution. I'm like, I'm not like there's nothing here. Like if I want to be
Yeah.
a hoe, I could be a hoe, but I don't want to be a hoe kind
Right.
of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I know.
But it's all very shallow. It's all very,
Yeah.
very, very shallow.
Yeah, and it's funny because sometimes I do some research across the sites just to see, you
Hmm.
know, what's what's going on, and there's a new one out there called Stir. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I actually used Stir late last year,
Okay.
for a little bit because I saw an ad for it on TikTok, and I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah,
I've
right.
exhausted all these other ones. What the hell? Why not try to, someone that has kids, maybe connect. Met this one girl, we connected. We dated for about maybe like a month and a half or so.
Yeah.
And then she just flipped the crazy switch on me. Not to like bash her or anything, but it was just
No,
like
no,
it
no.
was a sudden like it was a sudden like just out of nowhere. It was just a snap, and I was just like,
Yeah.
holy shit! Like I'm
Yeah.
out. I'm out. I'm out. I'm done. Like I'm not dealing with this. I'm not. So
Well, and it's hard because virtually, how do you get to know people? I mean, honestly.
you don't like, and
You
it's like I
can't.
don't like. I have a girl at work. She's trying to ship me with a couple coworkers. We
Yeah.
work in mental health, so it's a little bit better
Yeah.
comparatively to your normal work environment. Like we have two supervisors, but then
Yeah.
all the rest of us, we're all either therapists or coordinators or case managers or
Mhm.
you know, none of us have like a rank above each other in like a
Yeah.
weird way that would like confuse anyone
Right.
kind of thing. Lucky for me, I'm one of like three dudes, and
Yeah.
all my coworkers after that are female. Most of my female coworkers are LGBTQ
Perfect.
or partnered already, and so I'm not worried about it. But I do have one coworker. She's trying to set me up with another couple coworkers, and I'm like, I don't really want to do this.
Right.
Um, but at the
How do
same
I do
time,
this
we work
work?
we work far enough apart, like with
Mhm.
from each other, where it's like it wouldn't interfere with like the day to day. But I was like, I also don't want to do it. But really, there's nowhere to meet people, and it's really hard for men. One thing I noticed, I'm in a few men's groups on Facebook, dad groups. They all like, oh, we're here to support each other. No, everyone bashes each other still. It's like that was
Right.
that was a stupid parenting decision. Like I've bashed people, but
Yes.
but not like in like a like you suck at your being a dad, but it's like think about it. Think about you
Right.
taking away that thing or doing that thing you're doing. Is that going to make them respect you more? Or are you going
Right.
to build resentment towards yourself and they're going to be upset and they're going to find a way anyway? And then they're going to get in more trouble and keep rebelling and you're going to create a spiral at that point. But the thing for me that I see in a lot of those, like when it comes to dating, it's like, I haven't done this in a while. How do you talk to a woman now?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
it's like, don't give them the secret sauce of be available, but not too available. But when they want you to be available, don't be available, but available. It's like
Right.
I'm just like that's not me. Like if you, I'm gonna be available. If you, I'm
Yeah.
available. Like when I'm available, I'm available. I have my kids every other week. You
Yeah.
know, if it fits
Yeah.
the week, I'll stay with my ex.
Well, and
Like I
that's the
have,
thing with the schedules, you have limited time,
yeah, and
you know,
we're all
especially.
adults. You know, we all have a
Yeah.
life. Like we're all coming into this thing of a relationship or whatever we're doing, dating with a life. My life
Yeah. Yeah.
doesn't stop because of you.
Right.
I'm not going to stop going to the gym. I'm not going to stop my podcast. Like, yes, I should probably slow down in all the extracurriculars I'm involved in with my kids. I realize that I'm like 2 weeks out from two of them being completed, and I am burnt out.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I'm tired. I'm tired. Extracurriculars, they take a lot of life out of you.
Oh, they
Um,
do.
like
They
kids are
do.
fine because kids have endless energy. Um,
Parents do not.
but it's like I don't want to go and talk to all these people and interact with all these parents on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's like, as much as I love you, I just wanna go to bed.
Yeah, it's like I just don't want to be here. Like, yes, I want to be a parent, but like
Yes.
I feel like I can't even be a parent because I need to be doing something and involved. So I'm definitely going
Yeah.
to be taking a step back and kind of reevaluating some things there. But
Yeah, and you have to. I mean,
exactly.
I did that a few weeks ago. I was said to myself, "You need to slow down. You need to take a
Hmm.
step back. You need to assess, how much time you're spending on certain things." And, I am a huge advocate for self-care.
Yes,
So there
absolutely.
are times that I'm just like, I'm checking out for 45 minutes and I just lay down
Hmm.
and give myself that peace and just calm, not that I'm like jittery or anxious. I just like I'm done. I need
Hmm.
to reset. And it could be at any time of day. But I always tell people that you must breathe. You must take care of yourself.
You have to.
Um, you're not doing yourself any good, just go, 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 go.
Yeah.
And, parents volunteering at school. I would love to do that. Don't have time for it. I mean,
Yeah.
and, I can do things every once in a while, but I've not been one of those active active and involved in everything my kids are doing. But if I was to contribute to the school as a whole, that's another thing. And so
Yeah.
it's like, how do you work these things in and how do you make them work?
Yeah.
Um, so it's one thing that I try and tell people, are you breathing each day? Are
Yeah.
have you
Yeah.
stopped to take a breath?
Yeah, have you stopped to drink some water? Have you stopped to eat something? Because I feel
Yes.
like it's really, really bad at dad culture, like father culture. It's really bad to where every dad's just out there like about hustling and grinding and earning more and doing all these things and being this person and meeting all these unrealistic expectations and going to this point that's not
Mhm.
realistic, that doesn't make
Right,
any sense to anybody. Doesn't even make
right,
sense to them if you ask them why are you doing this. Well, I'm supposed to. Says who? Who's saying you're supposed to now? Nobody.
right.
No one says you're supposed to. It's like you aren't like you say you want to be a better father. You want to be better. You want to be there for your kids more. So then be there for your kids. Be present.
Right.
Show up. Start showing up. You
Yeah.
know, let go of something. Do something different. Um, kind of thing, and don't overdo it. Like you're trying to meet these expectations. They're unrealistic, and you're never gonna meet them, and you're just gonna keep failing. You're just gonna keep beating yourself up, and
Oh, yeah.
you're just gonna keep pouring from an empty cup.
Yeah.
Like
Well, and it's same with, the mom side of things. And, it's just trying to find that balance.
Mhm.
Me and my ex work pretty good together. We had a sick child yesterday, and he said, I have to go to the office. And I work from home. And, even though I work from home, I worked till 7 last night. But, you know, we kind of balance that out and say,
Mhm.
okay, which I feel lucky that we can do that and just
Yes.
say, hey, man, I have so much today that,
Yeah.
and if the child's home sick. So, and it's hard to be there for it all. And then my struggle, like as a single parent, is like, do I give each kid enough attention?
Yes,
When they
absolutely.
are here, it's usually what's for dinner, which is like the bane of my existence question.
Yes,
Because I
same.
was like, I never thought that I would not like that. But one of my teenagers said to me, gosh, must be hard making dinner every night. I was like, yeah, it's not like something you
It's not
just
something I look forward to. Yeah.
no. Like, let's just order out. Like,
Yeah, let's
I
do
didn't,
anything else. I just don't have the energy for it. Looks like the
yeah,
chicken nuggets are going in the air fryer tonight.
exactly. Chicken nuggets and macaroni again.
Perfect.
Or frozen pizza. I don't know,
It
but
works.
yeah. Yeah, it works. And I think doing all the things, keeping up with wherever you live, and you know, I struggle with mowing the yard, it's just
Mhm.
like just getting out there and doing it. And I mean, there's just so many tasks, but I have to, and especially working from home, create that tunnel of vision of, okay, you are just going to work on this for 2 hours. So the best way
Mhm.
I itemize my time is just, you know, in my calendar, 1 hour in this client, 1 hour on this, 1 hour in writing,
Yeah.
just keep me
You have
actually
to.
producing
You have
something.
to. I do the same thing in my planner where it's like I don't hour by hour it because I know what hours at work I'm going to be at work because I work at an
Right.
office and whatnot. So that's a little different there. But it's like I consciously have to plan like what I'm going to eat throughout the week for like dinners and stuff. The weeks I have my kids, like
Yeah.
Monday we're going to have this, Tuesday we're going to have this, and then I have to think like, okay, what activities do I have with the kids? What do they have going on? So Monday I probably can't do that. I probably need to do this because it's simpler, easier, faster, but I could do that
Yeah.
Wednesday because we have more time, and so on and so forth. And it's like, when am I going to go to the gym?
Right.
Well, if I have my kids in the morning, I got to do school routine in the morning. So then we have to go in the afternoon. So then that's going to push things back. So you have to think all those things through. But I have to be just very aware, like in my planner, like I have this going on tonight at this time, this at this time, this at this time. I'm going to go to the gym here. I'm going to do this thing for me here.
Mhm.
I'm going to have create because I always have some kind of creative time at night. That's usually when I like to have mine in the
Yeah.
afternoon, evenings, like after the kids are in bed. I can finally sit and just like relax, just
Yeah.
lay back, relax. I'll do something creative for maybe half hour, an hour, and
Yeah.
then watch a TV episode for an hour, and then I finally call it a night. But it's like I have to do those two things to feel sane.
Like you've accomplished something. Yeah.
Yeah,
For the
like I
day.
could, yeah, like I could be accomplishing stuff all day at work because I work in
Yeah.
mental health, so I'm always helping people, always helping
That's awesome.
people. But it's like I realize like I only can help so many people in a day, but I have to have, my time to release all that energy at the gym. Like,
Oh, yeah. I mean, I
I have to.
eventually I'm at my office at my house, but I have a Peloton to my left.
Mhm.
And so it's like, okay, lunchtime, let's take a half hour to take a break. And if I don't
Mhm.
have any meetings, or even if I do, just look like you weren't sweating 5 minutes ago.
Right?
Just take a break.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you do have to work those things in. And I think that as single parent, every schedule is different. We
Mhm.
do a 2 2 3, so there's a
Okay.
lot of juggling around. And I don't know that that's the best schedule for us, but we've been doing that for a long time.
Mhm.
um and as the kids are getting older, the girls can drive, and so it's not as that complicated. But I mean, parents are trying to, if they work, get in meetings, and if you work at home supporting your kids, I mean, that's 10 times more work, I feel,
Yes.
because it's It's hard all day.
Hmm.
They suck energy out of you. You adore them. However, we're
However,
human. However, we're human
yeah,
and
no,
need breaks.
exactly. And
Yeah.
it's hard. Like I do it every other week, so I have a full week at a time, Friday afternoon to Friday afternoon kind of thing.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
switch. We started doing that like during the school year with our oldest being in kindergarten, um, and stuff, and it worked out because it's an easier transition. The other one
Sure.
picks her up from school on Friday, and then it goes right into the weekend. You have the whole weekend to transition and to re get focused on the different environment, and then into the school
Right.
week, and then it all kind of flies after that. So,
Yeah, and I think that that's healthy for the kids because they
mm,
know,
yeah,
and it's funny because my mom was in town. She lives in Northern Kentucky, and they were her and my sister were in town, and my sister's in Chicago. They were in town, unfortunately, for a funeral, but they're like, "Do you have the kids?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do have the kids while you're here." And then I overheard my mom having a conversation with my son. Oh, are you here tonight? And he's like, "No, I'm here tonight, but not." And she goes, "Oh, that's good. At least you know." And he goes, "Well, tomorrow I'm with my dad." "Oh, so on Tuesdays you always know you're going with your dad?" And he's like, "No, it switches every week." And
yeah.
he's trying to coach her through the schedule. And I'm like, it's just we use the Cozy app. I don't know
Cozy App's
if
a really good app. We were
yeah,
using that for a while, but then I'm like, this is dumb. I'm not paying for this anymore. Because
yeah,
she had this whole like not phase. Phase seems really rude to say, but this whole like period of time where it's like we're only communicating through this co-parenting app. Like I'm like, grow the. I swear, it's my podcast. I swear. I'm like, grow the fuck up. Like, come on. Like, we're adults. Like, I'm done. I'm not paying for this anymore. I'm not doing this
yeah,
anymore. Like, I'm not doing the calendar thing anymore. I'm not sending you all this calendar stuff anymore. Like, I'm not.
yeah.
I'm not
It's
doing it. Like,
hard.
I will text you like a normal person. I will call you
Hmm.
on the phone if there's an emergency.
Hmm.
It was just came down to one day where it's like I'm deleting this. I'm done after a
Yeah,
couple months of trying it, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, you can
yeah,
feel however you
yeah.
want to feel, but I'm not doing this. This is too much. This is ridiculous, and
It's an
it
add-on.
yeah, it doesn't. It's an add-on. It's like we were communicating through text before. Now we're communicating through this now, and it doesn't work for me. If it doesn't work for one of us, we shouldn't really be doing it, kind of thing.
Yeah. And then moving schedules around really confused the kids. And
Mm,
we had gotten into, okay, dating, uh, my ex was dating and, trying to get on the same schedule as her weekends and, which was
mm-hmm,
totally fine and flexible, but just, then the kids are like, wait a minute, what? We're switching weekends and now, we're back in a different routine, but it's
mm-hmm.
all, it comes down to the same. There's just keeping up with it all is a
Yeah,
challenge for
keep it
me.
up with
Yeah.
it all, and then it's not easy. It's not easy,
No,
especially when you're trying to move on with your life
right,
and you're
right.
trying to have friends, have a social life,
And
date
that's
or
hard.
anything. It's impossible. It feels I don't know for you, your experience. You mentioned Stir, you mentioned the dating apps. Um, I'm sure when you're. I've been divorced for about 2 years. 2 years now,
Okay.
uh, and whatnot, and it's just been a lot of swing and misses. You know.
Yeah. Oh, I can't even tell you how bad it is from a woman's standpoint. How many inappropriate pictures I get texts.
Oh
I think I have,
my.
yes. I was telling people that they're like, what? And I'm like, oh yeah. If you immediately go off the dating app, next thing you know, here comes a new picture.
Mm.
Not what you thought it was going to be.
I don't
Um,
understand how people like how men can just like feel
whip it out
secure
and
enough
just,
to send
yeah.
those. Like I don't send those because it's
Like,
like
why
it's
would
not.
you?
I'm not gonna you know. I'm gonna be thinking the whole time I'm sending that. Does like is it what she like likes? All does it check all the boxes for? Does it check all the
Yeah,
boxes for? Is it gonna do the job for her? Kind of stuff. And it's like, eh, if
yeah,
we get there, we get there. Then she can. find out. She doesn't need a preview.
No, I've honestly, what I do actually now is so buyers be warned, I share them with my friends and say, look what I got last night, a picture of this. And we started a joke like,
Oh
okay, we're
my.
gonna, and one of my really best friends, she, bless her heart, has her phone on like mega, magnified. And
Oh.
so, and she works in a building, I was like, I'm going to send her this right now. I was like, oh no, what if she's in a building, like in a meeting, and like this shows up? But I wrote a whole blog about it. I'm like, boys, keep it in the pants until you get to know the,
Pretty much. Or like if
just
you define that you're just gonna hook up, save it for the hookup kind of
right.
thing,
Like, define what you want. I remember what friends told me to do after divorce. They're like, just go out and have fun. Don't think anything of it. But I have some friends that go immediately into new relationships, and I'm like, I don't think that's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Well,
You need to wait.
the whole like go and have fun basically translate go and sleep around and get yours that you haven't been getting for the duration
Right.
of your marriage, assumedly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much, yeah, one of my friends, and I'm not going to say the word on this podcast, but yeah, go have a parade.
Yeah.
And then you'll figure out what you want and what your standards are. So, yeah, I mean, it's right. You're right. You're just like, okay, sleeping around, and people are like, oh, I would never do that. Oh my God. And mostly coming from married friends. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's a whole new, excuse me, it's a whole new world out there.
Yeah, because
And
when I was dating,
you,
it wasn't like this.
well, and you're not dating for the most part to have kids with someone.
No.
And that's something like, and then merging families is a whole nother segment
Yeah.
of, if you are dating somebody, are your kids going to get along, and how's that going to work? And
Yeah. So is that something like I've wondered this for most women who do have kids who are divorced or single parent, single moms, and they start dating a man who or they start dating they're like just beginning of dating, are those thoughts like in a woman's head like very early on? Like are they thinking about these things like if this works out, or how are we going to make this, how are we going to merge, how are we going to do this, how is this going to look later kind of thing?
I think a lot of people on both sides of you know, men and women
Because I can speak
think,
for men, like it's 100% thing. Like maybe it's just me, because maybe I'm just more like in tune than some men because of my career and what I do for work. I get it from a
yeah,
different perspective. I see a lot of broken families. I see a lot of trauma. I see a lot of bad. So I see it in that lens where it's like I want to think about this and start like I want to see, is there a path with this person in all these ways early on. If I don't see a
yeah,
clear path there, then obviously the path with this woman is probably just going to be very short term, shallow,
yeah,
and
yeah,
probably more physical than anything kind of
yeah.
thing.
And for me, it's the timing too of
Hmm.
when you start to think about when you're going to introduce your kids. Some people will do it right off the bat.
I
It's
don't.
like,
That's I'm like,
I, I'm, I, the first person I did, I probably did it way too soon. And it didn't end up in a good situation. Um, However, since then, I have not discussed dating with them. They ask me, the girls, oh, are you going out? Do you have plans, or, whatever, or who do you like? And I'm like,
mm-hmm,
it's not like that anymore, because, I make myself get out of the house a couple times a day to go to a coffee shop or do something in
mm-hmm.
hopes of maybe I'll meet somebody.
Maybe,
you
yeah,
know, I don't know. I mean, you just, as at this time in our lives, it's just so different on the standards that you want. And again, you're not dating to build additional family members. At
yeah.
least most people aren't. And
Yeah,
then,
no, it's like I'm not. The only exceptions to that for me is because I still am young enough. My biological clock is still pretty intact. I'm healthy, kind of things like
yeah,
that. I'm not worried about my fertility or anything. Um, More so is if I start dating a woman who doesn't have kids and wants to.
Yes.
That's a
Yeah.
big difference compared to a woman that might have one. Well, it's like if you have one, I have two, that makes three. We have
Yeah.
one more, that makes four.
Yeah.
Four
We have
equals a
one more,
three.
there's five,
Four,
and then here we
yeah,
go.
four equals a three row car.
Yeah, right.
I don't want that.
Yeah, right.
Both of my kids are almost in booster seats and grown up
Yeah.
enough to where I don't even need the big car seats anymore. We're almost just in the boosters with the backs in a
You're
few
almost in the
months.
clear,
I'm
man.
almost in the clear. We're out of diapers. Both of them, my youngest one's been potty trained since she was like 18 months. And
Perfect.
I'm just like, but also
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with someone else's kids, like not in a bad way,
I
but it's
know,
like
I know.
I don't like it's so hard. Like yes, she's great, and your kid's probably great, but it's
Yeah.
like that's so much more to think about. That's so much more stress. Like
Yeah, and ho are they gonna hate you right off the bat?
yeah,
Or
how
are
are they
they
going to
gonna
feel towards me? Are they going to be accepting? Are they going
yeah,
to think I'm
fall in love
replacing
with
their
you?
dad because it's like I'm not?
Yeah,
Is like how involved? Well, that depends, and then how involved is the other parent? Kind of
right,
thing. Because it's like if there's no dad involved, like that's going to be an instant connection kind
right,
of thing. And that's,
right.
worrying as well because it's like I don't want this kid to get too attached.
Well, and that is I've heard of that happening so many times. The kids get
Mm-hmm.
attached, and it's
Yeah,
another loss for them.
exactly.
So that's why I'm so conscientious of who next time I'll date. I'm not dating anyone now, because I just like produce content out of the dating sites, and everybody you see is on the same all the
They're all
sites,
on the
and
same sites. Like I remember when I was on the sites, I had like 5 or 6 different apps. I had Tinder, Bumble,
oh
Stir,
oh
Plenty of Fish, Match. And it's funny because like I would match with someone on one that I
hmm
didn't match with on another one.
yeah.
And it's like, okay, so what's different about this is the exact same profile, the exact same pictures. So why wasn't I cool here, but I'm cool here?
Yeah, and the algorithms, like how are they matching you? And why do people have to show their big fish on their pictures? The
I don't
men.
I don't show fish. I don't show fish. That's not me.
I love like that and in the bathroom or at the gym. I'm
Okay.
like,
Actually,
guys,
I don't have any of those pictures. Like mine are just like outside of me, like on hikes and stuff. Like when I had them,
yeah,
it's like I would be outside on hikes, or I'd be out in a field. I would be on a mountain or something like that. Or I would be in my car or something. But it's like that's my rule. I'm like no fish, no mirrors, no gym, no
I'm
kids.
like, that for me, I'm like, nope, left. You know,
Yeah.
like that's not going to happen. Those
Mm,
are, and then because I'm going to end up with a picture I don't want in my inbox.
true. Yeah, and sites like Stir, like I think Match does a really good job. I think they've over monetized like with
Yeah.
their subsidiaries like Match and now Stir and things like that, where it's like really hard to like. It takes a lot of time. Like it
Well,
takes.
and somebody mentioned it's a numbers game.
It is. Well, that's
And
all it is. It's a numbers
yeah,
game.
and
I've said that ever since I was in college.
yeah, it's just okay, let's swipe right and see who talks to you. I mean, and my biggest thing is like dating has become so elementary where it's like basically you're checking yes or no on a box
Pretty
if you like
much.
these. Yeah,
Pretty
you know.
much, and it's like it's exactly what you said. It's a numbers game. That's it. That's all it is. It's kind of
Yeah.
just like 1 in 20 or 1 in 10 or however it is gonna be like,
Yeah.
oh, cool. You know,
Yeah. Well, and
and
then I ask her,
I'm sure it's different for you being in your late 40s.
yeah.
Um, I'm sure there's a lot of younger men who are like, oh hey,
Yeah, and then I'm like, "How low do you go?" Because I have a really good friend who's 49 dating a 25-year-old, and I'm like, "Really? That's a little bit of a gap. You could be her father." You know,
yeah,
and just, so like yeah, somebody asked, "How low do you go?" I was like, "Probably 38 is like my lowest."
mm,
Um to that's 10 years difference though for
mm,
me. So
yeah,
that's still pretty broad and they might not have kids and I'm not definitely not having any more kids. So,
mm,
it's like what do they want?
Yeah, it's all about what you want, and you have to. But at the same time, you can't be too clear about what you want, and
Right.
kind
Got to
of
play the
thing.
game.
Gotta play the
Yeah.
game. It's like I don't even care. I'm just like straight up like. Granted, I haven't used apps in 5, almost 6 months now,
Yeah.
because I just haven't wanted to. I kind of gave up on all that back in like
Yeah.
November of like last year. 6 months now, but um, it was just like I am done. Like I'm not
Yes.
like now. If I meet someone, it's gonna be some magical sweep me off my feet kind of way,
Yeah. And
or I'm
that's
gonna have
well,
be set up with someone.
yeah. Well, and I've started to ask around, like, do you know anybody? Because,
That's where I'm
it's
at.
that's where I'm at. I mean,
Yeah.
and I wrote something recently about how people kind of forget about you when you're divorced. I don't
Yes.
know, like
Yeah, I
they
read that
don't
one.
really. It's just like, okay, they're not together anymore. Do we want to be to, do we want to invite them to this party where there's other singles? Or I mean, it's just there's so many things,
It's like,
and
yes, invite me.
just invite me.
Just
Yeah,
invite
like
me.
I'd
I
love.
might say no, but just I just want the invitation.
Yeah, and some people are like, "Oh, you're gonna go by yourself?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I mean, it's like I do everything by
I
myself
do
right
everything
now.
by myself now.
Yeah. So why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
But it's a really somebody told me that years ago that before I even thought I was going to get a divorce, that people forget about you. You'll be surprised. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah, they just stop inviting you to parties and they stop, doing these things. And I, I'm like experiencing that now because all the girlfriends that were in my like we're all going through it at the same time
Mhm.
are off dating in serious relationships, so
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's just
"Yep,
I mean,
there's
that makes
me."
you feel like you're behind sometimes too, it makes you feel like you're
Yeah,
behind the 8 ball. It's like, "Oh, well, this person moved on, my ex moved on, my friends moved on, and then there's me, I haven't done anything. I've
yeah,
dated and nothing worked, and here I am just kind of floating.
yes,
Um, I'm just this space. I mean, for me, I'm just like it's been like 2 years. It's like my ex moved on very quick, but that was the situation if you catch my drift there.
yeah,
And you know, and now for me it's like 2 years later, it's like I've had some things that I've gotten close. I had one recently that, still kind of figuring that one out, the whole thing there. But overall, it's just kind of been a lot of swings and misses, a lot of swings
yeah,
and misses, and a lot of just shallow things like, yeah, whatever kind of
and I
thing.
hate the word ghosting, and I'm, a huge advocate of people not doing it, but then I end up, like, I've done it recently, and I feel so bad. I'm like,
Yeah,
well, it's not going anywhere, so
yeah.
I'm done
But at the same
here."
time, it's just like, what would you got to remember what you would want in that same aspect, like I would want them just to tell me straight up, like, hey, I'm not interested. I don't see this going anywhere.
And
Um,
that's what I usually do, and
yeah.
these were different situations, and so
Granted, the situation's going to be different. If they're sending you stuff, then that's, rightfully
I'm
so. They
like,
should just be blocked and
I'm gonna block you here.
yeah, I'm done there.
Yeah, and never speak to you again. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just again, different world, different types of dating, and somebody I met on an airplane, he was talking, he's like, I had to finally open my like distance to all the East Coast. And he ended up finding his wife on Match. And
Yeah, you have to
I was,
really expand to like hundreds of thousands of miles away to make that
yeah.
connection.
And then how do you have time to go through all those people? I don't know.
But it's like,
But
how do you have time to, figure this out and talk to all these people? It's exhausting. It's
it is.
so exhausting.
And then they're like, why aren't you answering? And I'm like, I've got my kids,
Like I
like
have a
I can't.
life.
Yes, I'm busy.
Yeah.
And if you've never met them, it's hard to just keep that conversation flowing,
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. It's like people want to text forever, and I'm like,
It's like,
I can't text forever.
I'm just like, can I call you? Can I call and
Yes, can
talk
we
to you
just
like a normal person? Like I can do other things with my hands. I have headphones, I have my AirPods. I can do other
yeah.
things and multitask and
Otherwise, you're like text, text, and I'm like, I can't text all day.
no.
Like that's not something.
It's
I
it's
mean,
not
once you're in
reasonable.
a relationship, that might be, doable, but in the early stages and you haven't even met someone, yeah,
No, it's
not
not.
gonna get me anywhere.
No,
So,
no.
anyway.
But Erin, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Any last like tips of advice or tips or advice that you would
Yes.
give a recent divorcee with kids going through the divorce, life after the divorce, dating after the divorce, or anything that we talked about today? Any advice for divorcees other than going and reading your blog because your blog is fantastic. So
Okay, thank you. You can
yesterday's was a little spicy.
I know.
Yesterday was a
I
little
was like,
spicy. I was like, wow, she's in a mood today. Um,
I gotta spice it up every once in a while.
That one was
Um,
spicy. The picture and
yeah.
everything. I was like, I got my eyes caught the picture. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go read this one.
Oh, yeah. I know, and my parents, get the, emails. I'm like, "Oh, well," it's just about the fact that I've heard of different situations, and maybe have been in different situations. So,
Yeah.
um, I would say the advice I would give for a new divorcee is find a group, find somebody to talk to, whether it's a friend that's getting divorced, have a co-pilot because you're going to have your moments and you're going to cry and break down at the most odd times that you never thought would happen. Um, be honest with your kids, but not too honest because they don't need to know everything that's going on in your life, especially when it comes to a divorce. Not that you want to hide stuff from your children, but I think it protects their feelings a bit. Um, the dating world is different. It's
Yes.
not easy.
Mm-mm.
Don't expect to just find someone and every single man and woman they're all on the same sites and they're all using the same pictures
Yeah,
and I'm still seeing.
and we're all in love with the idea. We're all like in love with the hope. We're all in love with the hope and the idea because there's still a part of us that wants to be back in that situation, but in a lasting
Yeah.
thing. We want to do the different things. We want to, prove to ourselves. We want to take that last step in our healing, like show that I am different. I did change. I am changing. It's like I'm in love with the hope. I'm in love with the idea of this person. I'm in love with the idea of what this person can be. I'm in love with the idea of what life can look like, kind of thing. And
Yes.
you get that television.
Well, and I have, friends. My mom has a couple of friends that they had just found, like, in their second and or third marriages, the love of their life. And I one thing that really hit me in the last week, I watched the Judy Blume documentary,
Okay.
and she has been married and divorced twice, and then found her love of her life, and they've been married 40 years.
Wow.
And yeah, and it's like, wow, that can happen. And so
Hmm.
those little moments can give you hope. And it's like, I just want to travel and I want
Right.
to, yeah, it would be great if I could do that all the time, but got to work. But at the same time, yes, we're all in love with that hope that there's going to be someone out there because
Mm,
nobody wants to, but you get used to being alone when you're divorced and you're
you
like, okay,
do.
don't have
It's
kids.
kind of nice.
Yeah.
Like
Love
you
them. I'm
love
ready
them,
for bed
but
at 7:30.
I know. But do you like those days where you don't have the kids, and it's just quiet, and you don't have work, and you don't have anything going on? You're just like, man. You have that thought once. That's like, yeah, this would be nice to share this space with someone. But then you're like, fuck that. Like, this is nice.
Yeah.
This is me time. Like, I'm gonna kick it. I'm gonna play video games. I'm gonna write. I'm
Yeah.
gonna chill. I'm gonna swipe. I'm gonna do whatever the frick I want right now.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yes, I have all of those thoughts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can watch the cheesiest movie if I want, or the scariest movie if I want,
And I can eat
just
whatever I want without anyone asking me to share with them.
exactly. Nobody's picking from my plate.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
and I'm ordering out because I don't want to cook.
Hey, and no one, you don't have to, you only are ordering for one. Well, I order for
Yes.
two because I'm hungry, but uh,
Yeah. Well, I'm like, it depends on the moment.
I
If I've had a
splurge.
workout and I'm like, I want that, that, that. Yeah.
All of it, all the above.
All of
But
the above.
But Erin, again, thank you for your time today. Go ahead
Yeah,
and tell
absolutely.
all my peoples where they can find more of you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. It's been fun.
And then where can the people find more of you?
They can find more of me on divorceedish.com, on Instagram and Facebook. The book's available on Amazon. It's being converted to an audiobook, so you'll have that opportunity. Lots of new content, some content that's not even out there.
Nice.
So look for that to come probably in June, is what we're thinking.
Oh, as soon as that
Yeah.
audiobook's available, let me know because I'm an audiobook connoisseur. So I know a lot of my
Yeah.
audience, a lot of the people listening to indie parenting podcasts love their
Yeah.
audiobooks because we just don't have time to sit down and read an actual book.
I
Uh,
know. And
so
I realized as people were begging for the paperback, and then now the paperback it's going to be triple the size. So, but recorded.
yeah,
So
no, that'll be awesome.
it'll be, yeah. So you
Yeah.
can laugh while you're driving.
Oh, I that's my favorite thing to do. I love listening to audiobooks. They're great. But again, Erin, thank you so much for coming on. I
Yeah,
appreciate
absolutely.
you. Appreciate your insight here. And yeah, thank you guys all for listening. We'll be back with you guys next week.